Well, guys, we are only a little more than 100 days into Donald Trump's second term, and there is something very, very fascinating going on in the rest of the world. Not only is Donald Trump's own polling falling off a cliff right here in the good old US of A, but if you take a look at around the world, people are looking at Donald Trump and realizing that, oof, we do not like this guy. And I find this particularly fascinating because Donald Trump really did have an opportunity to come into office as the leader of the free world, and he should have been able to bolster conservative movements around the globe. But because he is so incompetent, and because he is such a malignant narcissist who is only looking out for his own interests, he has squandered any goodwill that he may have had. And now conservative parties all across the globe are getting shellacked in their elections because they are perceived to be more aligned with somebody like Donald Trump. So let's go ahead and take a look at what is happening in some of these allied nations of ours. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with Australia because they just held their election where the conservatives in the start of the year were supposed to have a 97% chance of winning. But look at how it turned out. If you guys do appreciate my work, please do remember to subscribe.
Just how much of a comeback was this for Australia's Labor Party?
Yeah, it's a tremendous comeback. I think that's the only way you could use it. That's a statistical term for you. Tremendous. Huge, as perhaps the President of the United States might say. Take a look here. The chance that Australia's Labor Party wins a majority in the 2025 election. You go back to February, before the tariff war. Look at this. It was just a 3% chance. Just a 3% chance. And as we know, well, now it's a 100% chance that they win the majority. And not just that, they expanded the majority. Back in February, indeed, it was most likely going to be a hung parliament where the Conservative coalition was likely to get the most number of seats in that parliament. But at the end of the day, in the lower house, Labor crushes with an expanded majority. Anthony Albanese, the prime minister, elected to another term.
So look, guys, I am not super tuned in to all of these elections across the globe, but what I know is that what we are seeing here is quite remarkable. As you saw, there was only a 3% chance that the Liberal Party was going to pull out a win in this election. But then Donald Trump came into office and he started implementing these Liberation Day tariffs and picking fights with our allies, and people in these other countries started running away from Donald Trump as fast as they possibly could. And now these conservative parties who should have pulled out a win due to the anti-incumbency bias after the COVID-19 pandemic, well, they're just getting shellacked because they are perceived as being more aligned with Donald Trump. Now, you might say, oh, well, how do we know that it's Donald Trump that is actually, the deciding factor? Well, it's because this was actually polled. And look at just how unpopular Donald Trump actually is in Australia.
All right, Australians who say Trump's election was bad for Australia. Look at this. When Trump was elected back in November of 2024, it was 40%. Look at where it was right at the end of the campaign. 68%, two-thirds of Australians said that Trump's election in the United States was bad for Australia. Anthony Albanese and the Labor Party, of course, the leftist part of that country, they hammered the Conservative coalition over Donald Trump. And not only at the end of the day did the Labor Party win, and not only did they get a majority, they expanded their majority, but also the head of the Conservative coalition actually lost his seat. That is how big this labor movement was, and it was supercharged by Donald John Trump. Australia, no bueno on Donald Trump.
Almost 7 in 10 Australians say that Donald Trump being elected is no good for their country. That is a damning indictment of Donald Trump. And like I said, because people perceive their conservative parties being more aligned with somebody like Donald Trump, they went with the other guy instead. And not only did these people win the election that they shouldn't have won, but they even expanded their majorities. And the conservative who was running against the liberal actually lost his seat. And this is not the first time that has actually happened, because Canada recently held their elections just, a week or two ago, and the exact same thing happened where Pierre Poilievre lost his seat when he was supposed to have almost a near 100% chance of winning back in the beginning of the year. Check out the polling out in Canada.
You got that right. Just north of the border in Canada, right? We were talking about it last weekend. I mean, look here. Canada's Liberal Party wins the most seats in the 2025 election. On January 19th, just before inauguration in the States, it was less than 1%. Hello. Well, that April 28th result, 100% chance, of course, now that the Liberal Party up in Canada was able to maintain its place as the largest party in Canada's parliament. Again, you don't have to be a mathematical genius to see less than 1% jumping to 100% just before Trump's inauguration. Now, something very much clearly happened in Canada, and I wonder what it could be, Jessica Dean.
I wonder what it could be, Jessica Dean. Well, maybe Donald Trump got elected right here in the good old US of A, and then he started threatening all of our allies. He started saying that he wanted to, take part of Canada or make it the 51st state. He said he was going to go after Mexico, said he was going to go after Greenland, said he was going to go after the Panama Canal. I mean, what we are seeing is just such an instant backlash to Donald Trump. And unfortunately, it's coming too late in the United States, because now, right here in the United States, we are heading down this authoritarian path because Donald Trump is that malignant narcissist who is trying to consolidate as much power as possible. But people from around the world are waking up and realizing, that this guy is just no good. I mean, it is so stunning to me that the Conservative Party in Canada had a 99% chance of winning back in January. They were up by 25 points. And then because Donald Trump came in and shit all over their parade, I mean, the turnaround is just remarkable. I'm still just kind of speechless at just how unpopular Donald Trump is. He is an absolute buffoon, and the people around the world are realizing it, and now the people in America are starting to realize it. But like I said, maybe it's just a little bit too late. And again, here we've got more polling from Canada just showing how big of a role that Donald Trump played in this election.
Yeah, so what does the data say? So we have the odds jumping here. But of course, as I said earlier on in this segment, I like to dig on into the data. Well, get this. Why did Canadians switch their votes to Liberal? Well, 48% of those who switched their votes said a top reason was Donald John Trump. So it is not just way out there in the east or west, depending on which direction you want to go, and down in Australia, but it was just north of the border as well, where Donald Trump supercharged the center left in that country and turned what looked like was going to be a loser for the center left party and all of a sudden made him a winner.
I mean, how insane is that? Almost half of the people who voted said that Donald Trump was one of the top reasons why they voted for the Liberal Party. I mean, Donald Trump is just as toxic could be. And I'm just super bummed out that the American people didn't see this sooner. And I'm just really happy for all of our allies, Canada, Australia, Mexico, that they're realizing this before all of this gets going into, before Donald Trump has done too much damage. People are trying to put up a bulwark against Donald Trump before they switch over to a conservative party. I think that's excellent for them. I mean, somebody like, what was his name? Pierre Poilievre, or I think that was his name, right? He was considered to be like a MAGA light type of figure. And then Donald Trump comes in and he starts wrecking our economy, starts threatening our allies, starts saying that Canada is going to be the 51st state. And people just started running away from Poilievre as fast as they possibly could. So not only did Donald Trump win the Liberals an election in Canada, they won it in Australia as well. And then if we look down in Mexico, we can even see approval ratings for Claudia Sheinbaum. They're going crazy because they are, also trying to put in that bulwark against Donald Trump.
How about we go south of the border? I've always been a fan of the great country of Mexico. So Mexico's president's net approval rating, Claudia Sheinbaum, I mean, hello, look at this. Her net approval rating up 22 points since November. Of course, she's been one of the main opponents of Donald Trump. Her overall approval rating now in Mexico, get this, is north of 80%. When was the last time there was any national politician in the United States who had an approval rating north of 80%? I think you have to go all the way back to George W. Bush at the beginning of this century after 9/11. The bottom line is whether you look in Australia, Canada, or Mexico, the center-left or the left competitors to those right parties, the opposition to Donald Trump, the opposition to the conservatives, I have said, have been supercharged by Donald Trump being the president of the United States, and his tariff wars have absolutely caused conservative parties worldwide to see massive recessions in terms of their popularity in those different countries.
Again, this is just absolutely stunning. Claudia Sheinbaum is now experiencing, I think, an 80-plus approval rating, and she, like he said, been one of the main opponents to Donald Trump. She was one of the first people to stand up to Donald Trump when he was trying to say that he was going to do all this stuff to Mexico. And now people are looking at that and saying, oh, she's standing up against Donald Trump. Hell yeah, we're going to support her. Yeah, we're going to increase that approval rating. I mean, Donald Trump is just so toxic in the rest of the world, which is really quite funny because what did Donald Trump tell us before he came into office for the second time? He said that we were going to be respected on the world stage again, that he was going to come into office. We're going to be the top dogs again, that people all around the globe were going to respect the United States again. But that is the exact opposite is happening because Donald Trump is such a buffoon. He is so incompetent. He is such an authoritarian that the rest of the world wants nothing to do with them. Now, of course, there are those countries out there, maybe like Hungary or Russia, that might be in more alignment with Donald Trump. When we're talking about liberal democracies from around the world, they're looking at Donald Trump and saying, hey, we don't want anything to do with this guy. And I mean, just take a look at this. Out of the 29 different countries polled here, 26 of them do not like Donald Trump. I mean, you just really can't make this stuff up. It's just so glorious to see.
Why don't we talk about 29 different countries, okay? 29 is a bigger number than 3. Say the U.S. will have a positive impact on world affairs. This is April versus pre-2024 election. Look at the number of countries in which that percentage has declined, the percentage who say the U.S. will have a positive impact on world affairs. It has declined, and get this, 26 out of 29 countries, nearly unanimous. It doesn't basically matter where you go. Yeah, there's maybe a country here or there that like the United States better, but the vast majority of countries that are polled hold a lesser view of the United States now versus before Donald Trump was elected. The bottom line is, as I said earlier, this has caused liberal leftist parties worldwide a massive upswing in their popularity, and has caused a downgrading in the minds of many different folks throughout the globe, perhaps not in the United States, however, but many folks throughout the globe to see the United States as a lesser than they did before Trump was elected. The bottom line is Donald Trump hasn't just shaped the politics in the United States, he has shaped it worldwide, oftentimes to the detriment of conservative parties and to the benefit of leftist parties worldwide, Jessica.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's just stunning. You know, so what he's basically saying is that when Joe Biden was president, most of these countries surveyed said, yeah, of course, America is going to be a force for good in the world. But then Donald Trump gets into office and people have pretty much reversed on that decision, saying, no, the United States is kind of a pariah right now. We don't know if we like what they're doing at all. We don't think they're actually going to be a good force in the world right now. I mean, that is absolutely damning. It is completely contrary to what Donald Trump said was going to happen. And I'm hoping that come the 2026 midterms, that the American people will reflect this attitude as well. If with any luck at all, the liberals should be able to clean house in the 26 midterms. I'm just crossing my fingers that we can keep up this momentum, that we can keep messaging against this authoritarianism, against this fascistic takeover that Donald Trump is trying to coup our country. And again, he's going on the attack against our allies. He's pretty much thrown Ukraine away. He's aligning with places like Russia. I mean, it's just been a disaster on every single level. It is completely contrary to what the United States is supposed to stand for. We're supposed to be a good force in the world. We're supposed to be the good guys. That doesn't mean that we get everything right every time. That doesn't mean that we are perfect, but we try to do the right thing. But that is no longer the case under Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a buffoon. He's an incompetent fascist who is trying to consolidate as much power as possible for himself. He is only looking out for Donald Trump. And because he fancies himself as this wannabe strongman, he's trying to align himself with the likes of Putin and Hungary's Orban. I mean, it is absolutely pathetic. So we're definitely going to keep an eye on this. Hopefully, Donald Trump continues to have this effect on liberal parties around the world, and people will start to realize that this conservatism, at least the MAGA conservatism that we currently have going on in the United States right now, is just not good for anybody besides the few elites that are actually in power. So I will leave it there for now, guys. Thought this was interesting. Donald Trump is just a toxic adult old man living in his own delusion. So I will leave it there for now, guys. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. We are trying to build something here on the left that adequately pushes back against the right-wing media ecosystem that just shovels this shit for Donald Trump every single day. So if you do like what I do here, please do remember to hit that subscribe button. It is free. And if you guys want to see how Donald Trump is basically underwater on every single issue, or nearly every single issue, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.